Hi again, Evan. We're just going to continue with our lesson on exponential graphs, and in this video we'll be covering reflections about the y-axis. So you'll see this once again on page 101, and we're going to use our standard equation y equals 2 to the x, and we're going to discuss how to reflect it about the y-axis. Just to refresh, if we have an x-axis and a y-axis, and say we have a graph that looks like this, if we reflect about the y-axis, we take this and we reflect it. Let me use another color to try to illustrate. So this point over here gets reflected here. This point gets reflected. This point somewhere here, this point somewhere here. So we get a graph that looks like this. So how does this translate into changes in the coordinate points? If we take any coordinate point x, y from our original graph, then the reflected point will be minus x, y. So in other words, our y value stays the same, but our x value goes from positive to negative. So this should give us an idea about how to find the equation of the reflection of this graph, y equals 2x, about the y-axis. All we have to do is make x negative while keeping y the same. So we get this equation, y equals 2 to the minus x. Let's just double check with some points. X values minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. For the graph 2 to the x, we'll plug in these different x values. First value, 2 to the power of minus 2 is 1 quarter. 2 to the power of minus 1 is a half. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 2 to the power of 1 is 2, and 2 to the power of 2 is 4. Now let's look at the y values for the reflection. Y equals 2 to the minus x. If we substitute minus 2 into this equation, we have 2 to the power of minus 2. So the minuses cancel, and we're left with 2 to the power of 2, which is 4. For the next x value, minus 1, 2 to the power of minus 1, once again the minuses cancel, and we'll have 2 to the positive 1, which is 2. For the next point, 2 to the power of minus 0 is 2 to the power of 0, because a minus times 0 is 0, and any number to the power of 0 is 1. For the next point, we have 2 to the power of negative 1. That should give us a half. And for the last point, 2 to the power of negative 2 is a quarter. So you can see just from these points that minus 2 for the graph 2 to the power of x has swapped with the y value for 2 to the power of minus x. So this minus 2 value and this 2 value both have the same y values. This minus 1 value, this 1 value, both have a half for our y value. So we've just swapped everything around, in other words. So if we describe this with a pictorial graph, x values 1, 2, y values -1, -2. Y values 2, 4. So let's plot the first graph again. This is going to be exactly the same as we did in the first video. So I'm going to do it quite quickly. 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 4, -1/2, -2/4. This graph will look like this. For the blue graph, we have -2/4, 1, 2, 0, 1, 1/2, 2/4, and the graph looks like this. So we can see that the blue graph is like if we took this graph and flipped it about the y-axis. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about reflections about the x-axis this time. So this is our x-axis and we flip the graph this way. Reflections about the x-axis. Before we start, let's just look at a little example. X, y. So if we flip about the x-axis, we take each of these points and bring them here. So our reflection would look something like that. In terms of coordinate points, if one of these points is x, y, then the corresponding reflection is going to be x minus y. So our y value turns from positive to negative, and our x value stays the same. So in terms of our original equation, y equals 2 to the power of x, the reflection about the x-axis is where we make y negative, and we keep x the same. Let me just write this in blue. Okay, if we bring the minus over, we would get y equals minus 2 to the x. Let's plot some points and see how this graph looks. Once again, we'll have x values -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Our original graph 2 to the x, and our reflection -2 to the x. Quarter, half, 1, 2, 4. These values. So because it's minus of this thing, we can just put minus in front of all the y values. Okay, now if we plot, you're going to go 2, 4, -2, -4 for our y-axis. Let me just neaten this a little. And our x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Zero, 1, -1/2, -2/4. So original graph looks like that. And our reflection is just taking all the y values and making them negative. So for minus 2, we're going to have minus a quarter, for minus 1, minus a half, for 0, 1, for 1, minus 2, and for 2, minus 4. So our reflection looks like that. So that concludes today's lesson. I'm going to send a couple of examples relating to the two videos we've done. This is only one page of the textbook. We haven't gotten into any of the parameters yet, but I just want you to be comfortable with the intro to these exponential graphs and to please do the questions that I sent you on parabolas and hyperbolas. I think once you're solid with those graphs and the calculations, we'll be more comfortable to move on and finish this section. Thanks.